Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Tyler Coates, along with two of my best crypto friends, and now both of my best real life friends as well. Now that I got the chance to meet Mr. Fibbo Swanee, and Joe's been doing such a good job on the show. He just got himself upgraded to a moderator in the chat, so everybody give him a thumbs up there, and big shout out to Bitcoin for Girls. Mel, it's great to see you around. You were definitely the number one person that I was hoping to see. So I'm very glad to see you, as well as everybody else who is tuning in. We have some good charts to share, I'm sure of it, from everybody. I've got some interesting things I've been looking at myself, and I don't want to waste too much time before getting into it, but thought it would be fun to go ahead and share a little bit about our trip that Mr. Fibbo, that I went on to see Mr. Fibbo, as well as another one of my friends, Gabriel, who we will be starting a new podcast on this channel. I mean, Gabriel here soon, so keep an eye out for that. I'm really excited. I think it is a show that basically everybody will be interested in checking into, so pay attention there. And yeah,
why are you guys wearing bandanas? Did you just see that Cobra Kai thing or some shit on Netflix?
No, it's because it was hotter than balls. It was so hot outside that I had to wear it, or the sweat would just drip down in my eyes.
So you guys literally carry bananas, they're freaking bandanas to go frisbee golfing, like, because you prepare to keep the
plus we look cool too. So
and this is why
you definitely look cool.
For a mask too, the bandana is just so practical. I got it on for my mask whenever I need to go anywhere, and then when I don't need that, boom, whip it around. And I mean, if you look at that thing, you can see it's literally drenched. I wanted to use it to wipe off the sweat, but I couldn't, because it was like you would wring it out. I mean, it was not that hot. It was like 80 degrees, but the humidity was absurd. So that didn't stop us from getting out there and hucking some discs, and we just had an excellent time. His son was able to join us as well, so that was really cool to get to play. We had an excellent match. I was able to come out on top over Fibbo that first day, but his son, we had to go into extra holes for the money, and he ended up getting me there. And
with a nice, it was almost like a 35, 40-foot putt, wasn't it?
I would say so. I would say so. And before that, making some clutch ones coming in as well, which, now that you mentioned that, I have to bring up the second day where I made the longest putt.
Dude, that's
that was
really
ridiculous.
That's a really nice janitor's outfit.
Oh, why, thank you. I appreciate that. See, now I got the bandana ready to, use it as my face mask. Very, very practical. But yeah, I made the longest putt I've made in years on a carryover. We were playing skins, Fibbo and I. So it was like a 6-hole carryover, $1 a hole. And I had I don't know. I mean, that was, I don't know. I don't even know how long.
I had it in the bag. I mean, my disc was sitting 2 feet away from the cage for an eagle. And he freaking just dumps this 50-footer like no problem at all.
I was running around
to push it, and he pushed it, and then it was the next hole that you beat me out on another long putt, and you took the cash, you took the money there.
Took the money that day. So I had to show this picture because this is Babe Ruth's bat that I am holding. That's an experience that I will never forget, and even got to buy an autograph from my favorite baseball player all time, Mr. Stan Musial. And then I guess we got to get to the tweet here first, which was me paying up on a bet that I owed Fibbo a stake for a bet that we made. I think we were playing poker on Joe's channel a while ago in the midst of all the COVID lockdown stuff. That was a really cool thing to do, to kind of connect with you guys, and I got into some, I did well in the poker, but I got into some bad prop bets, this being one of them, betting on a new low, and Fibbo called it like a boss very early on, so it was great to be able to pay back the...
it was delicious.
I mean, it was unbelievably good. It was absolutely unbelievably good.
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
So yep, that will be. Oh, one other thing that I absolutely did want to share is this new development that I think is a major fundamental development that is potentially a much bigger deal than people are realizing, and that is Kraken getting a bank charter, getting a license in Wyoming to operate a bank, and they are going to keep 100% of reserves of their deposits at all times, which basically means somebody commented that it would be nothing close to that in the world. And I basically replied that the math checks out. There's nothing anywhere close to this if they're able to put it together. They just got the licenses, and being a crypto company, if they are able to, they're planning on launching in America with a retail bank, debit card, everything like that. And if they're doing that, I am moving my business there, absolutely, no doubt in my mind. So that's a really, really big deal, and could turn out to be something that really shows people the difference of crypto and what the value propositions that are happening in this space compared to the dishonesty and the flat out highway robbery that is happening in the traditional space. And when you get an offer in the free market where one's like this and second place is not even in the same ballpark or even close, it's gonna, I think, get a lot of attention, if not in a short amount of time. Maybe it would be best if they can grow slow and steadily, opposed to everybody in the world just sends them their money before they're really ready for that. So I am, not. I did apply yesterday to become an affiliate for Kraken, and I'm really excited to promote them. I've used them for a long time myself, but today I'm not promoting an affiliate link or anything. I'm just sharing that story because I think it's something people should be paying attention to, specifically in America where they're planning on opening. So with the intro being done and over with, I'm going to go ahead and send it over to Fibbo in case he has anything to add about our trip before he gets into the charts, and then we will be excited to look at the price. There's the title is, if this is a dead cat bouncer if the low is in. So that's going to be the question I have for you boys with your analysis. And that being said, you got your bat, and hopefully people can see mine in the background. So how's it going over there?
Oh, it's going great, and I appreciate you coming out to visit. It was freaking awesome, and I'm looking forward to getting to Colorado sometime. I go there a lot, so I'm sure the next time I'm in Colorado, I will be hitting you up, and we'll be going out on the town for sure. But no, it was great, and I'm glad you came and met my family, and it was a good time. So I just live out here in the woods.
I don't know. You guys are making me bro jealous right now.
Hey, we wanted you to come.
You guys had some serious heart-to-hearts going on out there during this whole conversation, and here I am commenting on your janitor outfit and stuff. I'm a little sad.
Yeah, clearly that was some jealousy coming out. I appreciate acknowledging that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I look good in that blue outfit with my belt and matching my shoes.
Yeah, see what you didn't see was there was two girls that were right there before he went in there, and they were totally checking him out in that outfit. So you just didn't. Right. You just didn't see that in the pictures, is what it was.
That's right. And Joe, now he's getting even sadder. Look at the way.
I'm gonna have to go to Colorado now. I'm gonna have to go to Colorado and have some heart-to-hearts with Tyler, so that Fibbo gets jealous of me, and then me and Fibbo can meet up and get Tyler jealous of both of us.
There we go. Plans.
All right. So Fibbo, what do you see, and what are things looking like?
Let me pull up some charts so we can start digging into the markets here. I'm disabled.
Oh.
All right. Participants, no security. Share screen. You should be good.
All right.
They should default that to allow people in.
Is there no? I probably can. I'll have to look into that.
All right. So you should see my chart. I'm going to look at the 4 hour and the daily again, because this is what I've been getting a lot of questions on, and what's going on, that kind of thing. There was a decent trade on the 4 hour. I did not take it. I was sharing it with all my guys on the Patreon site. That happened here. But what was happening in the 4 hour is kind of interesting. Once this market broke down in this area of around 10.6 and worked its way down into the low around 9,800, worked its way back up, and right at this point there was a movement into the bull zone right here, but the momentum was really low, so I really didn't like it at that point in time. But it did move into the bull zone, and it was working its way up toward that 38.2% shallow fib level that I was looking at for this move, because I really wanted it to get above this before I wanted to do anything in the 4 hour. So what happened is it dipped down, and then when it actually held in the zone right here, one of the things you could look at, and it's probably going to be a little difficult to see, but right when it broke right here into the bull zone, you can take that fib move right here, and as you can see, as it dipped into the RSI and stayed in the bull zone, it made new lows under the 100%, but it went right to that zone that I like for a reversal on the 127 to 141. So you're only looking at this little time period right here, but it was still bullish, but the momentum just wasn't there. So I wasn't real thrilled with it, but I did like the way it was kind of setting itself up. So if you were a little bit more aggressive, you probably would have bought on these candles to the upside. But what I was waiting for was the 3 closes above the 10.6. And if you look real closely on here, the third candle, you probably buying, I think most of the guys probably bought right around 10.6. And this was actually the break of the threshold right here. Even though it went up and back down right here, this is really the key, is because this is where the momentum started to kick up. So as soon as you got that third day above this 10.6, that's where the buy on the 4 hour came in. So if you're in on it right now, actually a lot of guys were asking when to take profit. I told them to do it when it was getting up around here, and then I told them to probably buy around 10.7 again, just because this is holding nicely in the bull zone. So not a huge trade, but you could still be long right now at 10.6 off this 4 hour. And the thing that was nice is once you got that third day settle above that 10.6 level, the ADX was kicking up, and it finally got some momentum for the bulls, and that's what pushed us up against the this moving average here. So now that you have an official threshold here where the momentum matches the RSI.
Can I interrupt you very quickly?
Interrupt anytime.
I appreciate it. You mentioned that you could be long right there around the 10.6. I'm wondering, were you taking that on your swing account?
No, I did not. I decided not to, just because I bought some other stuff. My money flow for the week was not ready to go in. So not enough dry powder, but I was telling guys that this would be the spot to do it if you wanted to do it. But I was really waiting on the daily for a lot of other signals. So I'll show you that here in a second. But with the ADX kicking up and you're getting the momentum, this is where it gave that signal there for 10.6. So you could still be long at 10.6. And right now everything's looking pretty decent for support, because the 38.2 right now is at 10.8. And right now it's wicked down below it, but it hasn't really closed below it very, very much. So there's a little bit of support there. And then the 61.8% level comes in pretty much probably right where you got in. And then you got another moving average there. So you got this area down in here that's got a little bit of support for the 4 hour. So everything's looking good there.
And then the other question is, were you looking to take some profit up around, say, 11.1 due to that 61.8? Edge
Yeah, it was going up against this resistance, and the RSI was getting up pretty high. The ADX was starting to edge a little flat. It just looked like a decent time to take profit, but it's also setting itself up to where if you did take profit, you should be back in right around. I think some of the guys were saying they were getting in around 10.750, somewhere right around there. Anywhere in this range would have been a good spot to do it. So it's really anywhere between 10.7 and 10.8 would be a good spot to get back in if you didn't do it the first time, or if you doubled up, anything like that. So everything's looking good here.
Yeah, I agree. And just to sum that up for the audience, to see the why the 10.7 to 10.8 was his zone is that 38.2 to 61.8 retracement, which is based off of where he considered that threshold broken using that RSI and that spot right there. So that is yeah. And then also to see the moving average kind of flattening out in confluence with that 38.2 with the other moving average coming in and approaching the 61.8. Agree that both of those would look like good levels based on what you've been teaching us on this show, and that RSI, seeing how it crept up and then came down and then went through, and it was holding up there pretty well. That seems like that's good confirmation. And as you're looking to potentially buy the dip, notice how the RSI is coming down back to kind of the support of his threshold. So now the RSI is not oversold, but it is showing a spot where it should be kind of at support if this thing is going to be bullish, which would again kind of confirm that. And then another one is the ADX. You have the plus DI that is now moving up. They kind of got the chance to converge, and now it looks like the bulls are maintaining control. So that is painting a good picture and everything looking good. Yeah, I just thought I'd chime in there. And
I think everything's looking good on the 4 hour for sure. It's the daily that I'm still waiting on signals for my stuff, and this is where I'm going to add to my long-term positions if this ever hits the threshold signal. One thing that I've been looking for, first of all, was the 3 closes above the 38.2%, because this was the start of the threshold to the downside. So working your way back up, the 38.2% shallow fib is at 10.6. So I wanted to see 3 closes above that, and we definitely got that yesterday on that 3rd close. We're on the 4th day right now, but I didn't like it, and the reason for that is the crossover with this move to the upside and the crossover on the directional index lines. As the ADX was dropping, the positive directional index is just not. They're moving parallel together after the cross. So to me, that's kind of a weak crossover. So I don't like seeing something like this when markets are pushing up again or pushing up through some of the fib levels that I like to see. And then also down below, we have not entered into the bull zone yet. We're still in the bear zone on the daily. So I'm waiting for a move back above here to get this thing back into the bullish zone. And then I would like to see some momentum behind that move as we go forward. So right now, and another reason that I liked the sell on the 4 hour when it was touching 11.1 was this reason right here, was as we moved up to that 61.8% level, tapping on resistance, the internals for the daily weren't really looking that bullish to me. So I'm still kind of holding out. So the good thing is the 4 hour is still looking pretty good. So hopefully that momentum keeps continuing over a daily basis, and then we can start pushing up above this area right in here, 11.1, and then get some momentum behind it, and then get the RSI moving. So that's the signals that I'm waiting for to actually call it a threshold on the daily. So just like we had here, the ADX was moving up with the negative directional index, and then it dropped down into the bearish zone right here. So that all worked well together here, but so far nothing yet. So to me, the risk is still in this area, all the way down to 9,800. If we don't break this, so you gotta take into consideration that risk is still there, at least on the daily basis. But this is just for me to add to my long positions that are long term, that I've been following on this whole fib thing going forward. So if if you're trading in a little bit more short term, which 4 hour is fine when you're swing trading, that the trade's there on the 4 hour. It just hasn't signaled for my personal adding to my books on the daily. So I'm a little iffy on this, to where we might be able to get a little bit of a drop before we start to signal some of this stuff. So that's what I'm looking for on the daily itself. Given that, when you look at the weekly,
And
can
I
yeah.
chip in there on the daily real quick, because that's a really good chart, and I hadn't seen it yet, but it is the perfect, the reason why I titled the show why I did, because this is the exact spot where it could be still a very much a dead cat bounce, with the actual structure of the market changing, where we have the higher highs and the higher lows, and we've got a good bullish structure. Well, this last move down has put us in danger of changing that structure to lower lows, and what would confirm that would be lower highs. And we do see that if that 61.8 that Fib has drawn, where it resisted over to the left, that was prior support. So if we're going to be starting to break down support and turn that into resistance, well, that's that's changing it from either a bull market to a bear or a prolonged range. So I think that this is a very, very important spot, and I think that we're seeing. I really like how you're reading it with the 4 hour entry, but you're holding off. And I guess my quick question to you is, you said you bought some other stuff, and it sounds like probably within the crypto space. And did you prefer to buy that other stuff because the daily was in a stronger structure, with maybe already breaking through that 61.8?
Yeah, no, there was a couple other markets that had some signals for me to go long, so I added to there instead of the 4 hour on BTC. But yeah, it's all going to be based on the same type of stuff that I'm looking at here. It's my stress-free way of doing things, and it really, sometimes it gets to me, but sometimes it's a teaching in patience, because everything's like, I want to buy here, but I really look toward the daily for my main deal, and without the daily signaling, it's just keeping me on the sidelines for BTC just at this point in time. Not that I'm going to be right or wrong or whatever. It's just that it's a patience thing. And I think it's funny, because I get a lot of messages that are both ways. I'm getting people going, "Oh, this is great. This is the best thing. That it's really teaching me to kind of wait it out and think it through and those kind of things." And the other side are like, "Man, this is just boring as shit. I wish something would happen." That kind of thing. So there's always markets you could trade in different ways. So, but right now that my patience is waiting for this, and sometimes you just got to wait a little longer than what you would like. And so since I was waiting, I looked at some other charts and found some entries. So
just there was a couple things there that I was hoping to touch on, which you absolutely did. And that's, first of all, that you're trading your system, and you're being very patient, and you're waiting for your signals, and that's just so much easier said than done. And then once the time comes, you're ready to actually pull the trigger. So that's going to be one of the biggest lessons that I think you can teach. And the other thing, just to clarify, is that I think crypto presents a lot of great trading opportunities, and you and I see things pretty similarly, in that if I get a signal on an alt, I'm going to take it regardless of what I may think about their fundamentals, bullish or bearish. I'm not thinking about that. I'm trading a technical system, and it sounds like that would be what you're doing there when you're buying something else. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely.
That
is absolutely correct.
And time frame.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, like, the 4 hours definitely looking decent, but then the daily is not at this point in time. But another good thing for longer term is the weekly. So far, when you look at the weekly, based off of its threshold, the 38.2% right here is being held as support, so we don't have 3 closes below. the momentum's there, and it's still in the bullish zone. So longer term, this is good. But what's happening on the daily is I still think that since it hasn't broken out yet, and it hasn't established a trend, that's why I said this risk could be there. So I want to buy on another drop to the downside, or if this thing just reverses and goes nuts, then I'll wait for a lot longer. But right now, that's one of the main reasons I'm kind of waiting for this spot right in here. But the good thing is maybe there's going to be enough momentum on that 4 hour that keeps rolling over and kind of pushing that daily and keep pushing that price and getting more people interested. But the good thing is the long term is still there and nicely intact. So I think another dip in the daily could be about it, and then we can start taking off from there as long as that weekly doesn't break down. So everything's looking pretty decent from a near term and long term, but the medium term is the one I watch, and that's the one I want to wait for my signal. So unfortunately, it's playing with me, and I still haven't seen it yet. So. But that's what I got. That's what I got for what's going on the charts for this week. So
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for going over your thoughts.
No problem.
Really liking your analysis, seeing a lot of similar things there, and I am definitely also getting some things that I did not see myself as usual. So thanks again. And with that being said, we should go ahead and send it on over to Sasmania.
What?
The Sasmanian devil.
Oh my goodness. You guys are drunk.
I'm drinking water today.
I have Coca-Cola.
I'm not. There's a better nickname. There's a better nickname.
I really like this one. I'm not sure until I hear a better one. I'm sticking to it. I took away the devil part for you that time, though.
Isn't there something offensive you can call me instead? Anyways, so yeah, just been taking a look at this. The scalpy short-term stuff. You know, we had a nice move up. I didn't want to short this just yet because I had a feeling that there's room for us to squeeze our way back into the, you know, high. We're already at the high 9Ks. We almost broke 11. So all right. The first and most important thing is I still have a long-term relationship with a former partner here, the TD Sequential, who is expressing we are on a 9 sell. All right. So this is a little bit of a bearish formation, I would say. Would you consider this a reversal candle at the top of a trend, guys?
Yeah, that's definitely a doji.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sign of indecision after the end of the run. Yeah.
So yeah, my understanding is this would be a multi-candlestick pattern indicating what's potentially a hangman formation or a something to that effect, where you have a numerous candle to the upside move. We clearly got the 9 sell, and now we'll have a good reversal candle. Although it's preferred to have an inverted hammer or some sort of inverted doji, a hangman doji like this is technically going to be sufficient to get the pullback we need. So we did get some action in the candle. The 9 didn't blow out of the water, which has been, you know, one of the things you always have to take a look at on 9s. Is getting fucked by them. You know, on the first cent of a 9, people might start buying, and it has a strong tendency to shake people out within the candle itself. I mean, here's a prime example. We have a fucking 11% move on the daily on a 9 sell. That leads into, assuming you bought the top, you might have been able to and sold the bottom of a wick. Maybe you made a trade, but you know, sequential isn't necessarily the best in the business, but you know, we have been doing some things. It's nice to see that this 9 didn't really behave abnormally. It behaved, in my eyes, normally. So it's following a candlestick formation. It is a technical pattern that insinuates there will be a short-term pause in the trend, 1 to 4 candle pullback. The fact that we did have, so that's just, you know, the TD.
And another thing, Joe, is the confluence between that and what I just showed with the Fibonacci level being resistance. All of that kind of working in here as a 9 sell possibility. So I kind of like that as validation.
Yeah, and then I was going to say this is going to be the cherry on top. We got cherries on top right here. So I'm glad you like that talk. But yeah, I was like looking at this and I was trading, not really trading, just observing. And I tried to catch a couple of these trades, but I missed them by a freaking hair. And obviously my perfectionist, I was pushing really hard to get that, but I couldn't land it. But anyways, I saw this. We didn't get the same signals chasing the book on the way down, which is why I had a feeling we would come back up and get another shorting opportunity. I think we're close to it, but I have a feeling this is going to end with a little bit of a downswing, probably back to the mid to low 10Ks. I think where we failed in the 12K region, and I guess I don't need too much of this. Just to note that as the higher we go, the bid-ask spread pretty quickly flips, and we don't have to go very far. I mean, only a matter of $250 or so before the bid-ask spread in the 0 to 10% order book depth flips. So I mean, it's definitely a fair fight going on up in this pretty optimistic range. So I can't take away from the bulls the fact that they are putting up a strong fight in an optimistic range. In my eyes, 11K is a pretty optimistic range. On the brink of 5 figures versus 5 figures, as opposed to something like 5 versus 4, where we were dancing between 10 and 9K until we broke down. How many times before we kicked our way back up here. So there's been really not too many anomalies in anything volume related, just kind of typical stuff. So I think that this is kind of marking a toppy area. I don't want to pull out all the noise to figure out what the rest of the ratios are saying for the book. But you know what? I actually did. I figured I should probably just do this real quick because I was just curious. I just want to look at the total order book depth overlay. And yeah, I just want to look at something like this. Yeah, so this is kind of what I wanted to see was how serious are we with stacks in the book? I mean, this is just the original default mode. Inputs should be. Let me get rid of the lines because these are unnecessary. That's something that I just don't use anyways. The lines just don't help me. But let's check the inputs. Let me put this at 100 and my minimum's at 0 and 0. This will be a little bit more Joe style, more SAS signally. Depth, let's go 0 to 10%. Okay, so yeah, this is looking a bit more normal to me. We had support running us along all the way through, a little bit of shallow resistance kind of meeting us along the way, but now we started pushing into those overextension areas that we left some pockets behind. And that's where you can see that we were getting, at least on the SAS danger signals, we were getting a little bit of a signal here to take some shorts. And these are scalp shorts, by the way. Anything with danger in it, in my eyes, is a scalp signal. So I hope everyone interprets that the same way from now on. But yes, the more dangerous the signal, the more sensitive the ratio, which means that chances are your time horizon on the trade is much smaller. Anyways, so now that we're back up here, I think we're kind of entering another area where it might be a good idea to put in like a low lev short, just something defensive. We're pushing into a triple band control, 0 to 1%, 1 to 2.5, 2.5 to 5, and a little bit of dust supporting the buy side book in the 5 to 10% band. Also visible up over here in the top right corner where I have my order book depth over setting here too. We're looking at pretty strong ratios in the 0 to 1 against the bulls, decent ratios 1 to 2.5 against the bears, as well as in the 2.5 to 5. And then 5 and 10 to 25, really, of course, 10 to 25 is just kind of a wild card area. I don't spend too much time looking at this ratio, but it's not really indicative of a trend if the 5 to 10% band is only 5, expressing almost, I guess that would be a very weak ratio value. So,
well, what about on the other exchanges or the cumulative? It looks like a much higher value there.
So cumulative, I might need to take out a couple things like, the fact that there's a 51.
Or wait, I'm just looking at the 5 to 10%. If we look at Gemini, what looks like Coinbase, that it's like 3260 over to the right, 5 to 10. Yep, that seems pretty darn significant on the spot exchanges. Would you? You're not really taking that into account? or is it not?
I don't dislike it. I don't dislike it. But what it means to me is that, you know, 10% down from here is the lower 10Ks, and that's pretty much where I see us moving our way to next, and hopefully holding somewhere above that, you know. So I think what we need to do is prove that we're capable of more than what we did in the 11K range, which I expressed a little bit of concern with when we were in the 11K range and fighting for 12K. We came to 11.1 to 11.3 or 4, 11.5, 6, and then we were kind of like in this ascending, you know, pattern, and then we just busted through the floor. And what I don't want to happen again is for us to set ourselves up to bust through the floor after a failed attempts at 11,000, behaving in similar fashion to 12K. So what I want to see is if we are to move back down, which I think we are due for a little pullback. There's some pretty strong technical reasons for that to happen. Also, the book is kind of expressing that there's at least some wiggle room. I mean, let's be optimistic and say that maybe the mid 10Ks, like 10.6 to 10.5 or so, might have a strong support, and that would be perfectly fine with me if it was. Now, the thing is, what's going to happen if we head down that way? Are sellers going to chase the book? Are people done with this run? You know, are there external variables that are going to come in and really shape the narrative? I'm not sure yet, but right now I'm really digging the support that we found in the low 10Ks after busting through a nice little wild ride in the 11 to 12K range. So lower 10Ks definitely have some juice. And then if we can make our way, I think, to a low at the lowest of like 10.3, then I'm going to be pretty optimistic that we're going to come back up, pop 11K, and then maybe that's going to be our journey to 13K as we wrestle against 12, and then kick our way back up again. So that's just my low. What?
Yeah, I like it. And you're thinking that we shouldn't see sub 10K before we should see 13K. You're thinking that low should hold.
I mean, to be honest, I would say let's look on a daily, and you know, like we had those couple little tippy toes dipped under the water, you know, a couple times, but it really wasn't a big deal. So I really feel like we haven't really gone under 10K in a way, you know what I mean? So I feel like that fight is still strong, and I think that we're probably going to do, you know, kind of what you're thinking is move up before we move down.
I think there would be a good horizontal on there if you drew a horizontal on that chart around 10K. All the things like you're saying, it's just wick down under the 10.
I'll actually, that's one of the things I'm going to be looking at from a higher time frame.
Pull it up? Okay, cool.
Pull that up. And before diving into that, getting a lot of feedback in the chat today, and I'll always appreciate everybody for chiming in and thumbs upping or thumbs downing to let us know how you feel. It's always much appreciated. And so Eddie V says, so many questions, not enough trading, and just wanted to make sure to clarify due to there being a number of some feedback along those lines that we're not going to be here doing any live trading at all. We're going to be giving our live analysis and sharing, you know, how we are trading ourselves. So there's just, you know, the questions is going to be what this show is about, and if that's not what you're interested in, then I would say that there's got to be other shows out there that are going to be much better suited for you. We're hoping to kind of teach you the techniques that we are using to make our decisions, and the best way to do that is to share what we're seeing in real time, and then kind of go over some questions. So thanks everybody again.
And just to add on to that, Sock, real quick, every single one of us is a trader, and just to make that point clear, every single one of us is a trader. A lot of people are bitching about that too. So I just want to make sure they can all fuck off if they want to complain about that shit. There's public trades in Telegram. There's all kinds of shit everywhere. So all of us are traders, to answer that question.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's something that we are all trading our own methods in real time, and all sharing those methods and sharing that analysis. And doing so in, in real time. And I guess that will be how I start here with the recent tweet that I had to show that sometimes the stuff that at least Fibbo and I does is longer term, and a lot that you have to do is sit and wait, and being patient is going to absolutely be one of the biggest parts of trading. So I am waiting here for some orders to potentially fill or to potentially get stopped out. And this was one of the first charts I was going to go over, and just figured it was a good one to start with here, that we will be very often sharing our entry zones in real time. And then I don't have any interest in, like proving to you that I have orders set there. You can take it for what it's worth, and everybody else out there that already knows what we do because they have been supporting us for so long. Thank you guys so much. And with that being said, we don't need to waste any more time on that. Let's go ahead and pull up. I've got a handful of charts that I'm excited to share. So we will start with the Bitcoin chart. Oh, I need to get this out of here. Had a what I thought was kind of a funny tweet recently that said somebody needs to tell Bitcoin that its parabola is on upside down, and that's kind of something I've been keeping my eye on here as we had this sort of rounded top coming on as this has been coming in here to these things obviously need to be adjusted often, and that could be a situation where this is not only testing a 61.8, but also a upside down parabola. So that's definitely something I'm going to be keeping my eye on, and kind of see some fractals that I was also keeping my eye on, as I feel like this is a very, very critical juncture. This were some fractals that I shared again in real time on Twitter back in here, and I'm still seeing either one could be true. And notice how the red one had the first move to the upside resistance and then comes the dump, whereas the green one is more of a sideways tight consolidation that maybe looks like a bear flag but just gets bought up and pops. And of course that may be getting a little bit too precise or whatever, but it's something that I really like to keep in mind when you get a move like this, that potentially it's just that first little head fake to the upside that makes everybody think it's this when it's really this. So that's absolutely something I will be.
That chart's interesting, Saw, because that's exactly what I would define as a liminal space.
100%. And
that whole little zone you're talking about right there is where emotions run the highest, of going, oh my gosh, are we going to 15K? Are we going to 7K? And that's why you just got to be patient and wait for the actual signals.
I couldn't agree more. And this absolutely is a liminal space. And it was really cool because when I was visiting you and we're playing disc golf, I got to mention to you how it was like the most, the highest point of liminal space for me was the few days that I was out there visiting the man that taught me about liminal space. So it was kind of cool to get to show you what I was looking at on EMASAR and why it needed to move in a very short amount of time. So of course we'll get into that, but before we do, might as well see that other trend line that I'm kind of keeping an eye on here, that starts out hard and fast and then maybe flattens out a little bit there. But here we see the horizontal that we were looking at with Fibbo, which reminds me I want to start with a higher time frame here. So that's definitely something that should act as resistance until it doesn't. And then when it doesn't, what should it do? Well, it should act as support, would be my opinion. So this would be another reason why I was looking at that zone that I just shared. I think that was last night. Right in here is where the majority of my orders are. And that is, again, looking for this to potentially have a little bit of a stutter step here and come back and maybe turn prior resistance into support. And that is going to be the theme here. So let's just get a blank chart up, because I think this, as I mentioned there in that kind of first fractal, that this is a very, very critical spot. And I would say that because of higher time frame stuff. And let's go ahead and take a look at what I'm talking about here with, we've got a quarterly getting ready to close, which makes me think the action is going to be very important, specifically when it's around other critical closes and or highs. Let's go ahead and mark up some horizontals here with this close from that quarterly that will be labeled April 1 on TradingView. And then let's take a look at these highs where we had the high from this quarter in October, and then this high from January, and then right below would be this high from last quarter. So we could see there that potentially this is a very key area, not only because of the psychological, this is up at 10.4, this isn't 10,000, so it's above that psychological level. Then let's just take it out one step further and go 12 months and see that, well, I was thinking I was going to see something different, so maybe that was where that, yeah, that's definitely going to be where that big move down, where we would be looking at a significant move to the downside if the levels don't hold up here. So we would go ahead and draw in that horizontal down there, which would be making this very liminal. If it can support and find some and stay above here, then I would be, again, looking up to the yearly closes and potentially highs. And sure enough, there we have that close there, open and high. So that is a big range, and here that 13.9, that's what we've been talking about for weeks, and that is going to be the hardest part often, is to have to wait for those weeks and weeks and see, is this thing really staying in a position where that is intact, or is it going to fully break down? So here's going to be my critical levels from the 3-month, the quarterly, and then we're going to go ahead and zoom in to the monthly, and we do notice that those levels are going to line up with a lot of stuff here, and I would maybe just add one more there because the rest are already touching the kind of critical levels in here. So that is going to be a very important place to, if we close this quarter below 10.2, that would be a really bad sign and would make me think that the maybe a local top is in.
Hey, Saw.
Yep.
Put a Fibonacci on there just from the high in June to the low in March. Nope, over in the next one in the middle.
This one?
Right. Yeah. Go to that high down to the next low, and you'll see that we broke above it and we're 3 months above it. As long as we close above that level, that's going to be major support, which is right around that area too.
Let's see if I can just make
The
that
10,600 range.
I think that.
Oh, 9,009. Oh.
Yeah, no, I think it's right around 10 even, somewhere right around there.
Yeah.
So to me, that was a key horizontal, was that 10K. One of the reasons that I bought puts was that for that level, because since it broke a couple months ago, if that support holds, and it's right there with all the horizontals. So to me, that whole area is nice for buying interest. So if we can settle this next month with the candle above there, I think it even gets more strength as a floor, just off the fib itself too. So just adding some other stuff to it.
I really appreciate that, and that's yeah, that's why I'm really liking the look of this candle so far. There's still 13 days left. Yeah. Get back to the
just enough time to go back to 7,000, right?
Right. So what I was more looking at was the 3-month here, where the it's 13 days out of a quarter, and if it's able to close above all of these lines,
yeah, that would be awesome.
That would be a very, very good sign. And then how you pointed out the monthly there, like this is a really good reaction. I think this could be viewed as a spinning top, a topping candle that kind of confirms with a red candle that breaks down the low. But the way that it comes down and tests this critical fib, and then is now quickly getting back above these horizontals makes me think that potentially the last 13 days, it's already showing good signs that it may want to stay above. When it gets back above quick, it makes me think there's a better chance that it stays above, but you never know. So that's why we will start with some higher time frames and then always zoom in. And I really like how the weekly is looking. The weekly is going to be looking quite nice to me. I'm going to draw in another horizontal, then we're going to remove those so that we can start with some, I guess, move to some other stuff. So I drew in one right here with this close, and we see that as we came down and we were doing a show in here, and I was, very honest with my analysis in terms of I really wanted to be buying here, but I didn't get, and doing it in a big way, but I didn't get a opportunity to trim in a significant enough way. I was really expecting a move to 13.9. What I was looking at was a move like that, maybe, and that's sure ugly. I don't know why I did that, but let's just say a move that created a new high above this right there, and then really had a nice move down into these levels where that's where I would have been not only wanting to buy, but also well positioned, which is obviously going to be two different things. And when it was coming down in here, I believe it would have been last week's show that I was looking at that as being a really good opportunity of prior support, resistance, turning into potential support. But I was already positioned in a long, which made it such that I had to be more worried about if this doesn't hold as support, I need to be getting the heck out of here because things are really turning around. But I am happy with what we're seeing so far out of this weekly. Let's go ahead and remove this since it doesn't touch the weeklies except for back in here. And we just keep these that were all drawn on the higher time frame except for this one, and we just notice how critical they've been on the weekly time frame in here. And if we can again have a nice higher high on the weekly and come back and then create a higher low, turning prior resistance into support, then that would make me think we're going to create another high off of that trend. And that's where I would look to draw in some trend lines to help give me an idea for where support and resistance might be, and it can also help with timing. So let's go ahead and use some wicks and use some closes to just draw in a couple trend lines here. And what's interesting is this one right here to me would be potentially putting us at this critical resistance that was outlined on the higher time frame right here around the end of October, which again would be following the sort of rise over run that we've been seeing so far. There's a number of trend lines that we can draw in here that are going to not be signaling my buys or sells. I don't know what's happening with my mouse here. Geez Louise. But they're going to help me understand where the angle of the market, where the trajectory of the market is going. And when I line that up with other critical levels, it can help me to look at some timing things and figure out what next going on here. If this is still doing this, I'm gonna have to change out.
You got a ball mouse?
No, I sure don't, but I might have to break it out here. Yeah, something's wrong.
Fibble will let you borrow his other ball mouse.
Okay, so here is going to be the low end of the trend line using the lowest wick here up to the lowest wick here. And then we're going to look at the close here to the close here. And then wick, we could use that, like, but that just, that doesn't give us any sort of timing help. So this, it doesn't interest me because basically we'd have to get there next week. And that just maybe that we get a candle like this, but I'm never, they usually happen when I'm not expecting it. And I'm not really thinking that would be a good timing target for the 13.9 that we've been looking at would be next week, but could happen. This is Bitcoin. This is the range I'd be looking at right there. Let's go ahead and get ourselves a nice little eclipse drawn out to just kind of highlight a range of time. We wouldn't really be looking at the lows for this to make a high on the low trajectory. That doesn't make, you know, the most sense. Like that's where you'd be looking for the corrections. So really, you know, over in here is where the trajectory looks to me like it is taking this on the weekly chart, which would be sometime between October 26th and December 14th, 13,900. You're not going to get any more precise analysis from me because I can't possibly provide it. So hopefully you enjoyed it. And I know that most of you do. And yeah, always have to, you know, give a little counterpunch or two to those other ones. And that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the Fibonacci right here that I would be definitely paying close attention to as we topped here. Well, let's just take it back very quickly and use this high and this low, and we come up and here's your 618. Where is it? A dead cat bounce is going to give us a lower high and maybe lead to a lower low. That's the level that I would be afraid that it's going to happen. And then it did. And now here is that level again. And as I was looking at, yep, that was an important level earlier. So this is a really important spot, but I don't need to wait for that to get my signal to enter. And that's where I'm going to be using EMASAR, and it will help me with my entries and also my stops. And that's the number one reason why this was developed, was to help me with stop losses in crypto, where there are so many traps and moves like this that could very well reverse the market structure, but also could just be a really good buying opportunity. So the original entries were back in here on the 4 hour. That's what I will be trading. And of course, in real time, I've been outlining all these buys, and then did get some trims, but I bought back that trim here. And then once this top of the beach didn't hold, I basically exited that on a tight stop right here when that right around here, around 11,000, outlined that last show, I believe. And then this is where the entry would be, the other entry. We have the beach to enter long, and then in the ocean above the median, above the buoy, that is absolutely where I would look for a run on stops to occur. And if the buoy holds, it tells me the bulls are staying strong, and that's what I need to see, because if we spend too much time in the ocean, or if price goes too far below the buoy, then I'm going to get stopped out. And that was very, very nearly what happened. Right in here is where I'm about visiting Fibo. And
yeah, I remember out on the golf course, you were you checked your phone and said, we're above the ocean. We're above the ocean.
Yes, and I'm the last person. I hate being out disc golfing and visiting people, being social and having to check the phone. Like I'll never do that, but unless we're in such a—
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it was right on a spot you had to.
I just had to, yeah. So it was where we found support at the buoy here. And then when it does that, it needs to reclaim the top of the ocean. If it just finds support here and then turns that into resistance, well, that's when I would really be very much expecting that stop to occur, which would be at that point set on the books, which is uncommon. Generally, most of the time, I wouldn't have that hard stop set. In this situation, I did. And what's so interesting is often that area there will represent some sort of 0.32 fib. And sure enough, here we are with the 0.2 acting as resistance, top of the ocean acting as resistance. I'm in my liminal space, starting to bite my fingernails. Really, is this just going to roll over and do that, which it still very well could, as I outlined. But this was where I was getting excited. It's above the ocean. Woohoo! We're back out.
Yeah, and, but it support and resistance flipped just like you wanted. So
just like that.
Perfect.
So that was really cool to be able to show that. And then the next thing would be the moving averages. We cannot then come up and turn the 200 EMA into resistance, which again would maybe be some sort of 0.618. And there you have it, the 200 EMA 0.618. That would be a very critical level that if that turns into resistance, that's where we're really on the 4 hour ready to just have nothing more than what would be called a dead cat bounce, where you bounce and it makes it look bullish, but it just dies and gives you a new low, which would be the key thing here for me, because that's where my stops are going to be set. As long as we don't have a new low, I am going to be a happy camper. And then as the ocean had the resistance into support flip, look how we have the 200 EMA with that 0.618 resistance potential support flip with the 50 EMA right here. So potential incoming golden cross with the 0.618 trying to act as support. The 50 is going to be there trying to help it out, I believe. And that's where I really have enjoyed applying fib stuff to what I'm doing, because they just eerily line up like very, very specifically, like the time and the price. Really exciting stuff for a guy like me. What isn't an exciting thing for a guy like me, being a Bitcoin bull in the short term and medium term and very much long term, is this storm. This is the black sky that starts out as clear skies, partly cloudy, and then when it hits black, that's our signal of a top that the high should be in, and that the storm will stay stormy. We had a new update. It will stay that way as long as the local highs are holding, and that will be signaling a time for this thing to need to reverse. So that is something I'll pay attention to, and we can definitely think of it like a 9, like we were looking at it on the daily with Joe, where potentially you get a 9 and it does reverse the price, just like 1 to 4 candles, or a full reversal, or maybe it does nothing. Right here, we could have a storm that does nothing and we continue right through, because this really, to me, was such a deep correction that we, like right here, we got the storm. I'm sorry, this is the storm. We got where it goes cloudy, and then we get a deep correction from right here, this high, that nice resistance on the moon there at 12,100, gives us consolidation and then a nice correction. So really, this isn't in a spot where it needs to reverse, in a very different spot than something like this, where we've just been staying bearish the whole way, and then you get something like that. That I would be looking at much more as a sign of going ahead to reverse, because we haven't even gotten into the beach or the ocean yet. So it does kind of go ahead and give a good signal there. This is different to me because we already got a big 20% plus correction, which is enough to retest prior highs. And then here is our prior marker, which is part of the new update, which I'm so excited about. If we see where that alert is set, that's because of this old marker here, which was lining up beautifully with the rest of the support that we were looking at. So seeing that prior marker and seeing that we've come back to test that, I'm not really too scared of this storm. I'm thinking it's one that we should end up resetting in terms of we take out the highs and then it'll just go back to clear skies. So that's my read on that storm popping up. And something else that I've been paying close attention to with this new update that I want to point out is the when you get these clusters of markers, which is a big area of liquidity. This was something I was talking about in the private Telegram group, which of course we keep a lot of things private and in our own groups that will help us to support what we're doing here. Oh, nice storm reversal there, that's for sure. But what I was talking about was seeing a nice cluster. And if you see something like this, it tells me that the price, excuse me, I need some water, should be attracted to that. And it should also be potentially a big area of resistance. So right here on the 15-minute, we're seeing from 11.3 up to 11.9, a big cluster of these prior markers, which makes me fearful that that will be a big area of resistance. But it was also making me think, as we're down here, that we should really at least get back up to kind of retest these levels on some sort of dead cat bounce situation. And then if we zoom in to the 5-minute, we see something that's a little bit inverse in terms of a big cluster of support. from the prior markers, and also from, you know, right around where that trend line is that I had drawn originally. Seeing a big cluster of markers here tells me that potentially that this was an area of big chop and indecision, and or that this was prior resistance that could become support, and that also the price could be attracted to. So I still do kind of see what Joe's seeing, that a little move down to the mid 10s does make a lot of sense. I think that price should be attracted to this area of liquidity, at least to kind of come down and wick off of it if there's just front running and tremendous support, or to do what we originally looked at on the weekly, which I wonder, do I have that up? Yeah, where here you've got the cluster where you come down, you don't necessarily wick off it, you spend some time and some accumulation happens, but then you get a nice reaction there afterwards. So that's going to be what I'm seeing on EMASAR, and still going to be patient and waiting for this potential buy zone that I will have orders set at, based on this being a very critical level on the way up. And now that it has gotten through, this is what I needed to confirm my entries was going to be a move up and through this with some confirmation. It all starts on the higher time frames and then zoom into the lower time frames. And if the lower time frame stays bearish, to where if this would have just kept reversing this shallow fib and this 1 hour beach, that's something else I was talking about in the chat, was a lot of the higher time frames looking good, but the 1 hour saying not so fast. That's a big critical area that is resistance until it's not, and now I would expect it not to be, since we have broken through and gotten, you know, a bit above, and now would be, I think, in a good situation to kind of come back and retest that level. So that's where I'm going to be waiting to potentially buy back what was trimmed up at. Let's get back over to my 4 hour EMASAR chart. So we were, you know, buying around 9,000 after the 4 hour chart confirmed the bullish trend and tested the beach, buying significantly lower than 9,000 in here in real time, and adding and then trimming up here around, I really don't remember, but it was definitely above 11, because that's where I bought back. So it would have been probably when we started to turn this guy into resistance and it starts to roll over. So I was trimming that action. Oh, it was obviously off of this prior marker. That was the target. That was the public target for a while, 11.7. So I had orders set at 11.7 to trim what was here, but it was only 20%. I was waiting for 13 to take a little bit more significant. And then what happened was then what was trimmed here at this marker was re-entered right in here. Again, I believe, of course, in real time and all of that, seeing this horizontal, seeing the beach, getting my signal and thinking everything's looking good. So that was re-entered here. And then that was stopped out here when that broke down. And it wasn't re-entered here because I'm more like thinking, holy cow, I'm still in 80% of this long, and I need to be worried about getting out of that. I'm not worried about maxing out my long there. But now that things are looking good, I can set my orders down here at that buy zone. And if I get filled, well, then I was able to buy low, sell high, buy low, get stopped out a little lower than where I bought for sure, but well above my average cost basis, and then potentially buy back lower, or maybe not. Maybe I get left behind. Maybe this takes off and I don't get those fills. Well, I've still got that 75, 80% of that long exposure. If you think I'm not going to be stoked about that happening, then you're crazy. What I don't want to happen, of course, would be that it comes down, fills those longs, and then wipes out the stops that would be then starting to really get me out of the longer term stuff that I've been so optimistic about as a result of the halving, and as a result of the money printing, and as a result of Bitcoin being my favorite asset in the world. I was trying to think of gold making a new all-time high. So a lot of bullish things happening, and I am excited to continue to share the analysis in real time and share the trades that we've got. Unfortunately, we've only got time to cover Bitcoin here. I would love to dive into some other charts, but we are unable to even keep it in to the time that I would like by just sticking to Bitcoin. So unfortunately, we will have to keep it there, and I appreciate both of you gentlemen for being so generous with your time and your analysis, and I will look forward to catching up with you boys next time. That being said, I would definitely recommend everybody again to go check out that Kraken article. I'm really interested in what they're doing with Kraken Financial, and I would recommend everybody to come to their own conclusions. Of course, whatever you think is going to be good for you or good for this space is something that you need to decide for yourself. And when I decide for myself, that's when I'll be, doing what I want to do. So thank you guys again for joining us. I think that the low is in, and I don't think that we're going below 10,000 at least before we get back up to that 13K. If we do, I'll be getting stopped out and reevaluating, and that is how I'm seeing it now. And it's good to see that Fibbo's kind of seeing some similar stuff, and it's rare that I guess all three of us are seeing very similar things as well. So yeah, that almost worries me. So thanks, Joe. Maybe it's time, a good time to counter trade the analysts if you are so inclined to. That might be a counter trade signal. All right. Any last words, gentlemen?
Been a pleasure.
Yeah, no, it was great.
And apparently you two are fucking BFF over there. So all right.
Yep, and I can't wait for us to make Fibbo jealous ourselves, because I would love to show you. I don't think anybody's come to visit me in Colorado. That's for sure. And I would love to show somebody what my place is all about. So let's make that happen as soon as possible, and maybe even do a live stream right here with right next to me.
Oh snap!
All
That'll
right,
make Fibbo super.
I appreciate
if you're going to Colorado, I'm going with you.
Oh,
I'm not telling you
somewhere else.
Now we're really talking about a party.
Yo, you're gonna need to get an Airbnb, or you're taking the couch. I'm getting the extra bedroom.
Oh, that's all right. I got places to be in Colorado. I'll be fine.
That's right.
I'm actually gonna use the extra bedroom. So.
That's exactly right. All right. So yeah, thanks you guys again, and then of course thanks to the audience for sticking around and all the support that you provide, whether all the interaction and the thumbs up, thumbs down, comments, subscriptions, and any feedback and sharing with anybody who you think would appreciate what it is that we do. That is much appreciated from us. So we'll catch you guys next week at the normal time. See ya.